If the building is on fire, are you going to be able to get out? That's margin debt. Stay tuned and see what that's about. Welcome to the Wealth Transfer. My name is Terry Saka, Chief Strategist, and I'm along with Dr. Charles Vance. Welcome, Charles.
Terry, and welcome everyone. What's up with the running to the exit if the fire and everybody is...
Oh, I forgot to tell you the part, everyone's going at the same time, okay? And are you getting out? Now, really, this is actually a real analogy because in the stock market, as we showed last week, we are at, and I sometimes overuse the word epic, but it really is almost an epic time of credit and margin debt, which means people in the stock market have borrowed money on top of what they put in the stock market. I think of millions of people heading for the exits when the market actually officially sells off. Are you getting out? And the answer would be no.
I'll give you an example. I bought some stock that was penny stock a few years ago, and it skyrocketed. I had about $8,000 or $9,000 in it. It went to $75,000. Well, who's the guys that do the investigations for the stock market? Mm-hmm. They did an investigation on this company because their stock went, I mean, this happened in a month. Sure. Their stock went up. So I had 70,000 some odd dollars worth of stock. And as soon as they launched the investigation, it started collapsing. And I was like, sell, 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 sell. And nobody bought it. It's a penny now.
Yeah. And here's the problem with this is the law actually was changed. And that's what makes this interesting. But I tell you what, before we get going, let me just give you an idea of how you can contact us. You can go to cornerstoneassetmetals.com. There you can watch the past programs as well as register for information if you want to start getting educated on diversifying intangible assets. Go to Cornerstone Asset Metals at the Facebook page. We have a lot of great updates there. I would encourage you to go to Instagram. I love the Instagram, what they're doing with the short videos and the beautiful graphic images they're putting up of real money. And you can go to Twitter, Terry Saka AAMS. I like the Twitter, not so much like what they do at Twitter, it's political, but in Twitter, you can get real relevant articles and links that I send out. So I would encourage you to go visit us there.
Very good. You believe that there's something going to happen to the stock market. You don't think that it can keep going up.
Well,
I'm just asking the question.
Yeah, no,
wait, it's a legitimate question because
nothing goes yes.
People are in it.
Nothing goes straight up,
and
we know
people just keep going into it.
I know.
Because it keeps going up.
Yes, and nothing does that.
History has proven to us that it doesn't just keep going up.
Well, let's show that from last week. Last week we showed you this one here. The blue line is the S&P 500. You can see on the right today, the blue line is the S&P 500. The green is when people go to cash and they're saving it. The red is when they go in the stock market and they take loans and credit to go in the market. Now, in the middle, you see that was 9/11. Then that was 2008. And we had some pretty good red there, right? Look at the mountain of red we are in currently. It is the largest amount of loan margin credit I have ever seen in my life, and hence the fire. If millions of people are trying to head out of the market system all at the same time with that, because you see, when you're in margin, you can lose everything you have. Now, if you're one-to-one in stocks, you just own stock and leave it at that, and the market goes down, you could always ride it out. Not to say the stock ever goes back up, but you're not going to lose out until you sell. Right? But if you're in margin, you can lose everything. And here's the problem, folks. No one talks about this. It happened I believe last April. They put a law in place in the stock market that you cannot set automatic stop losses. Now, what does that mean? I call my broker up and say, if the market drops 1,000 points, automatically sell everything across the board. And then you don't have to think about it. You can sleep at night. You know, you set a little parameter for yourself. Unfortunately, folks, the law that was changed no longer allows you to set automatic stop loss. You have to call your broker. Now, if everyone's calling the broker at the same time, Do you think they're talking to you? No. And what's going to happen is the market's going to keep coming down. So if you're not out of this market ahead of time, you're probably not going to get out in time, and it's going to be devastating. And so if anything, we're just encouraging you, be diversified. This is a good time to take a big chunk off the table, diversify it over into a tangible asset while the price is low, and be prepared, because as Charles started out, nothing goes straight up forever. And we are right now today, just days, weeks, and months away, very, very close to the largest period of expansion we've ever had. So we've been in this now 8 years, so enough's enough.
So my question would be on this, and this is sincere because I don't know the answer to this. Who would establish a law that would take the security net out from under people in the stock market? Who did that?
Oh, that was the exchange heads.
Oh, it was the exchange
yes,
heads. So they did that for what reason?
Well, the reason they did it, they don't want people panicking. And if people start to panic, the stock market starts selling off in a rapid pace.
So they think that this will stop the panic of the sell-offs.
Yeah.
Now, with all of that being known, then you're caught kind of in a situation where that unless you're constantly aware of what's going on, you're going to be the guy that money is transferred from instead of to.
Yes.
People, we've said this for years on this program, money doesn't disappear. Things of value don't disappear.
Right.
When somebody loses a home, the home doesn't just vanish.
Right.
Somebody else gets the home. It transfers.
It transfers.
So thus this wealth transfer that we talk about on a regular basis here. So that money would be transferred to someone else who has the ability or the foreknowledge to grab hold of what they need to buy or sell.
And now think about that. In the 2008 market crash, we all know, most of us that were in the stock market, I was not in the stock market,
I wasn't.
But those that are in the stock market, they experienced a 50, 60% loss. But yet there were those that made a fortune because they were not only there just ahead of it, especially go see the movie The Big Short, right? But then those that came in at the bottom. Now, most of us don't come in at the bottom. You know, myself, I had multiple financial licenses, A.G. Edwards, Series 7, 63.5, Series 3 commodities, accredited asset management specialist. So the reason I'm speaking in that tone is because I understand what they're about. At A.G. Edwards, they taught us, 140-year-old financial company, they taught us people have a tendency to get out or they get into the markets way too late. And as they're coming in the late stages, which would be considered right now, this is considered, that blue line, folks, is considered a late stage.
You're buying high.
Yeah, well, the worst part, the traders are selling into you. And so A.G. Edwards kind of taught this, that people just don't. They wanted this fever at the top. They want to get in. And then when the whole system collapses, the traders are the ones that actually buy in first.
The traders are the ones, obviously, that know we're hitting a peak.
Yes.
So we need to sell to people that think they can still get in and make money.
That's what, and so the important thing here is pay attention to what the big money's doing and don't pay attention to the mainstream financial periodicals because they have an agenda. Believe it, they have an agenda.
I am sure of it.
And so we want to do just recap on that image because it is so important that when millions do have to get out of the market, they're just not going to be able to make it in time. They're just not. And so, before I get into that, I want Charles to kind of jump on some things here because I think we have some great stuff to share.
Scripture says this. Jesus said this actually in Luke 12:42. Who then is a faithful and wise steward or a manager, whom his Lord shall make ruler over his household to give them their portion of meat in due season? Blessed is that servant, watch this, whom his Lord when he cometh shall find so doing. Of a truth I say unto you that he'll make him ruler over all that he has. That's what we call wealth transfer. Watch this. I believe it's going to enlighten you on what you can do to stay established with your finances in your future.
Buying power. What does it mean to you and your family? Have you noticed the prices of everything we buy are rising? Goods and services are becoming more expensive, and the money you work so hard for buys less and less and less. If you saved $250,000 in cash in the 1960s, that cash today would be worth approximately the same, $250,000. Yet does it have the same buying power today? No, not even close. Now take that same $250,000 from the 60s saved in silver instead of cash. Today, it would be worth a staggering $4.25 million. Now that's buying power. Protect and preserve your buying power now by rolling over a portion of your IRA into a silver IRA. Use the power of constitutional money silver to protect your standard of living in retirement and maintain the quality of life you are hoping for. The paper dollar you are saving has tremendous challenges ahead, so don't delay. Call Cornerstone Asset Metals now at 888-747-3309. Don't give away your hard-earned savings any longer. Be diversified. Get protected today.
Welcome back. Now, we did want to get into showing that one more time because the millions that are going to head out of this market when that time comes, it's going to be very difficult. It's not a big deal. We don't know exactly when. Things are going well. I am so encouraged that what we're doing now not only protects us in the kingdom, but is setting us up with tax cuts and manufacturing jobs coming back, where we're going to actually be America again like we used to. Thank God that Luciferian Clinton didn't get in, so we're able to, have a predicted future here. So my producers love when I say Luciferian, by the way. They just do not like me using that.
I try to help him as well.
He tries. But, I say that in the context of spiritual warfare because of these antichrists, especially the Clintons.
Okay, all right. Okay,
I'm not going to go into it, but I'm just saying they are so corrupt in the mindset that this is controlling the financial grid. It was designed. Obama set the foundation. Clinton was to come in. We were getting ready to go to a full-blown socialist system, and it would have been horrific. Anyway.
All you have to do is look around the world and see the socialist governments that are in place. I think you were the one that told me Nazi actually stands for socialism.
Nazi actually stands for National Socialism, and I actually have.
How did that work for him?
Well, matter of fact, I'll tell you, with the EU currently today, I actually, in studies, I have the documents. It's incredible to read and study, but they're going for the Fourth Reich, which would be this National Socialist order. We would probably call it the One World Order. And the EU was all about that. America was going down that line, and we don't have to get into tits on the politics.
Sure.
But the facts are the facts. Obama was definitely a Marxist, communist, socialist. You just got to look at his parents and grandparents and the people around him. Well, Valerie Jarrett and them, they're card-carrying communist type people.
The money people are the ones that are controlling everything.
Yeah.
A lot of times people think the government's controlling things.
Well, and what did Rothschild say, who basically is the banking system? You just let me have the money.
Control the money, I'll control the government.
I don't care who controls the laws. They don't care because the money's in.
And that wouldn't happen if our government weren't in such debt.
Yes.
But they are in such debt.
Well, what scripture is that?
Well, there's
servant to the lender, right?
It's everywhere.
The
the borrower is servant to the lender.
Right.
So if you've got money and I need it, or if you can create it out of thin air and I need it, then I'm going to be serving you.
Yes.
And that's what our government is doing, is serving the people, the banking system. That's why they make laws that govern, that are in favor of the banking system, is because they have to have the banking system to stay in operation.
And we all know.
How many? No, we don't. No, believe me,
no,
I ask people,
right.
and people do not know. People don't even know what the banking system is. They think it's the government, part of the government. It's not part of the government.
So as these stock markets are going up and down, they just think it's part of a cycle.
They just think it's a cycle, and it's not. All of this stuff is orchestrated, and it's orchestrated by people that are extremely wealthy, the banking system people, banking and the stock market folks.
Speaking of, let me go back to that. Look at this one more time, just one more time. The blue line is the S&P 500. When you see those massive corrections down, that is the central banking system pulling liquidity out of the market. And that's it's manipulated.
I've mentioned this years ago on this program, that Kelly and I own real estate, rental property, and some investment property. And when we first started doing this, they had loosened some money up. Now we have extremely high credit scores, and as they started the quantitative easing, which was printing more money, they were telling people, loan this. They were telling the banks to loan this money. Our local bank was a small local bank, and they said, we're not loaning you any more money. I said, well, but you guys got money. They said, yeah, but we're tightening up the standards on who gets it and what you get it for. Yeah. So all of it is, and I ask them, and I ask my BB&T guys, which are more of a national banking system. The local bank is only on like a 15-to-1 fractional banking system. They're completely controlled. BB&T's on 60-to-1. So they are completely controlled by the Federal Reserve banking system, and they govern everything that they do. So they govern how much money you get in your pocket, inflation, deflation.
Well, and that's the key, is it's the inflation, deflation that they
and here's what I want people to understand, is if I have this and you have something like this that's tangible, they can't control anything. They can manipulate this, but you'll be able to trade tangible for tangible, and that's what people need to understand. About 3 years ago, you had a video of a guy that had a chocolate bar.
I have that video.
Do you have it?
We'll play it next week. We'll play that next week.
Had a chocolate bar and had a silver coin and asked people which one they wanted. And what was ironic is they were standing in front of a pawn shop that said, "We buy silver and gold." And people, almost 9 to 1, I think, took the candy bar.
Took the candy bar.
Because they didn't know.
Well, if they would have taken the silver, they could have bought 170 candy bars. So the key is to know the value of money. And what we want to get into today as we started is we want to just show you the conditions, as we would say in the Army, the conditions on the ground. And right now, we showed you the margin in the credit debt. This is our national debt preparing, as you're seeing what we're getting involved as far as our debt goes. National debt ready to just skyrocket. If you see the yellow on the far right there, that's the war on terrorism type of thing they started. But look at how we've gone straight up in debt. We are, now, they're funny numbers, but we are well over 100%. We have well at 100 trillion in obligations for baby boomers, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. We don't have the money. They never saved it. So what we want to do is show you that right now, although I believe the policies are wonderful that Trump is disrupting within the transnational corporations, the transnational financial one world system, that is a big deal. And so
it would be close to impossible to reverse all of this stuff.
Yeah, you can't.
The government tells us that they owe $21 trillion.
Yeah.
But we know that through unfunded liabilities that they have, it's about 100 trillion.
Yeah.
This was an amazing thing to me. If you could count the 21 trillion, if you could count it one number per second, it would take you 500,000 years to count our national debt, like $1, 1 second, 2 seconds,
you know what
3
I think,
seconds.
Charles, is most people...
It's inconceivable.
I know, but I think it's at a point now where all of us, it's so out of our conception of what, I mean, we can't conceive this, right? It's so much that we're in our worlds where our jobs, our families, the this, the that, the car, AT&T bugging you and lying about their accounts, and all of this stuff that we have to deal with. We lose sight of it. In 21, we're like, oh, whatever, everything's moving fine. I don't want to disturb it. Here's the problem, though. Those that prepare for the future of what's coming will be in that wealth transfer point.
Absolutely.
If we're not prepared, we won't. The data currently right now shows we are days and months away, just very close, of the largest expansion we've ever had in an economy after a recession from 2008. And yet we have, as we showed you with the graph leading off, the largest credit margin debt I've ever seen in a marketplace.
Now, what do you mean by expansion of...
Meaning how we have a recession, then they print a bunch of money, and then they take that money and put it into the economy, and then we start growing again.
So start loaning money is what you're saying. People
and
are
like that chart
money.
we show with the blue line, the S&P goes up.
Okay.
We only can go up for so long, and then it has to correct. And so we just have to keep in mind, because as you're seeing here with the national debt up hundreds of % to the GDP, which is what we produce, we are already in a tremendous debt position, not just the 21 trillion, the 100 trillion obligation, but this is setting the stage as to why China, Russia, and the others are starting to go away from the dollar, why we're trying to get the kingdom prepared for what's coming. And it's exciting because if we're on the right end of this, we're going to receive.
We want you to be on the right end of it as well. And the way you do that is to examine what's going on in your financial portfolio. No matter what age you are, you can still make decisions that will change your financial future. Here's how you can get prepared. Watch this.
Terrorism, a volatile stock market, rising food costs, natural disasters. Every day our economy is at risk, but your assets should not be. Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked so hard to gain. Whether you have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, our accredited asset management specialists are here to support you. Call now and we'll send you urgent information regarding changes to the dollar and challenges to our economy that you need to be prepared for. Learn how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA. We can even arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or send it directly to your home. Do not delay. Call 888-747-3309 or register online at cornerstoneassetmetals.com today. Invest in precious metals and create security in your future today. Call now.
Welcome back. Now, we showed you what was setting up there with debt and how we are in the stock market. What I'd like to show right now is the actual dollar index. Now, the dollar index, without getting into the details of it, they try to, matter of fact, it's so amazing how they hide the value of what this is.
Now, first of all, what do you mean by value? Worldwide, in an exchange system?
Yes, in the exchange system itself. Personally, all fiats are pretty much worthless. But what they're doing is, and let's just say this.
Well, I have some Iraqi currency, and it's way more worthless.
We're all waiting for that Iraqi dinar to revalue. In Jesus' name, they're going to get their act together over there, and we're all in the kingdom. We're going to be super rich. And for those that do hold dinar, by the way, get a hold of Cornerstone because we have a package ready for when that does happen. If they get ISIS put together and they get that racked up. Take two currencies. In the FX system, all we've gotten to now in business is they trade currency. So the Japanese yen, which is not, the Japanese yen and an American dollar, they have values. So it's just almost like a stock price. So let's say the dollar's value is 106, this will be 108, whatever it is. They keep moving back and forth, they float. The dollar value really means nothing except when you're in financial transactions like loans, interest, and repayment. So for instance, if you took a loan, which this is what we did, we loaned the world, ready for this, 10 trillion plus. The United States lent money, mainly Germany, and then beyond. By the way, that's why Trump really went after Germany and NATO, because he knows. We bailed out the world in 2008, folks. We lent out 10 trillion to stimulate the world's banking system, not counting the 4.5 trillion or so we did here in the United States. Now, these were considered swap line loans. We don't have to get into the detail of that. But what it really means is these people took out dollar loans when the dollar had a certain value on the FX, and it was around 75 at the time. Well, then the dollar went up to 106. So if you took a loan, $1 billion loan out, which of course it was 10 trillion spread throughout the world, you took $1 billion loan out and you bought it, you took that out in a dollar value of 75, but you go to repay it and the dollar value is 106. Uh-oh, right? Interest, think about it, it'll cost you $1.4 billion to pay it back, right? So we kind of hoodwinked the world. No, we bailed them out, but now we kind of own them. They need the dollar value to drop in order to be able to buy dollars on the market to repay the loan back for less money. Now that leads me into this graph here, which to me is, and charts are charts, I understand, but this dollar chart is pretty interesting. This goes back to 1980. Now, if you see the peak and valleys, 1980 goes up, we crash, we come along, 9/11 hits, the dollar goes up, then it crashes. Then we hit here in 2008, the dollar crashes to the bottom, goes up again, right? Those red lines are known as trend lines. We hit the trend line at the top here recently, and now we are miraculously starting to trend down. Now, charting's charting, it's not real predictive, but it's pretty close. If this plays out and it goes all the way back down to the chart line, we're going below the lows of 72, which I actually believe. I think this time around, what's coming, I really do see something we've never seen before, may not ever see again.
And if that happens, what's going to take place for us financially?
If that happens, this will not buy you nearly anything. The economies will scale off. And the problem, for those holding this, it will skyrocket. If from where the dollar is today to where silver is today, we will see silver go to the highs, which will be a 200% return. It's just part of a cycle, Charles. It's part of a cycle. Now, the dollar is going back down.
Some people might say, I don't have anything in the stock market, so how could it affect me? But if they have retirement money somewhere,
cash,
it's probably
just
in
cash.
The stock market too, right?
Yep. All your IRAs and 401ks predominantly are. And if it's in a money market, we have to be cautious because they did the biggest theft I've ever seen, and nobody talks about it. But look on your statements. Look on your statement at your brokerage firm. And money markets, for instance, right? Money market was really a savings account. A savings account where you just put your dollars in and you paid a little bit of interest. Now, why they pay you interest, by the way, is because you're an unsecured lender and you're not getting it back. No matter what you think of FDIC, that's a whole nother story. But what's going to happen is your money is in it. But once this cycle plays out, you're going to lose buying power. So if you're, let me go back to the money market real quick. So in the money market, look at the fine print. It changed from money market to a government reserve cash account. Now the word government should really flip just about anybody out because central control, right? Luciferian as Charles would love.
Hey.
But what's happening is in that dollar market, when they change that money market designation, government cash reserve account, look at what they're doing with those money markets. The government, it's not government. Cash reserve, they fooled you. They made you think you were still sitting in cash in savings when you weren't. That government cash reserve account, AKA money market, is now 98% U.S. Treasuries. So the government essentially, why we're still today afloat in the markets, they went into the money market system, took all that money out because they need to fund our bond and treasury market. So basically
they have a right to do anything they want to do.
It's a government, they have a right to do anything, right?
Okay.
They took trillions out of the money market. Now you don't know that, because you see on your statement, government cash reserve account, no, it's in cash. No, folks, it's in U.S. Treasuries. And if you're comfortable with that, fine. If you're not, you're sitting in cash thinking you're okay, and you're not, because it's not actual currency. So,
well, what we want you to do is get in a position where the wealth can be transferred to you. That's really important, and not from you. You can do that just simply by paying attention to what's going on. That's what this program is all about. And in addition to that, we've got some information that will help you. Cornerstone really can guide you and direct you where you need to go. Hey, get set up so wealth will be transferred to you and not from you. See you next time.